All right, today I wanted to talk about something that I've been working really hard on, trying to improve. Sometimes I succeed, sometimes I fail, and it's this idea of indifference and being indifferent about situations that are completely out of your control, being indifferent about things that maybe you don't like, wasting energy on those kind of things. So I'll get into a couple examples just to kind of set this off. So it's about trying to not be so reactive and be able to, there's a quote, there's a famous quote by Viktor Frankl. It's called, it goes, between stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. So the idea is like when something pops up that triggers you, you have the strength to take that space to decide how you're going to respond. So once you get triggered by something, once that emotion comes in, then you sort of lose your ability to choose. You know, like when you get really mad, a lot of functions kind of get pushed aside. I think they say your intelligence goes down and all kinds of shit. So you sort of lose control and you lose the opportunity to take that space and choose what your response is going to be. So to get into the examples, I just had it happen to me this morning. I woke up way earlier than I wanted to get up. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning, but I was awake. My brain was like thinking about shit, so I was really extra tired. And I get up and I go into the kitchen, and one of my dogs took a shit on the floor, which that in itself is not that big of a deal. I got old dogs, you know, these things happen. So I clean up the shit. And then I go into the living room, and one of my dogs pissed on the couch. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, did you have to pee on the couch? Like, you couldn't have done it on the floor. It's so much easier to clean up. And so somehow, you know, because I was, I guess not somehow, but because I was planning to record this episode, this concept was front of mind. So I was like, oh, here's an opportunity to take that space, because this isn't the first time. I don't know which dog does this, but like 3 or 4 times I've woke up and a dog pissed on the couch, and it's like a total pain in the ass to clean up. So every other time I've gotten really pissed off, you know, and this morning I didn't. I was like, I'm going to take that breath, you know, and not get pissed. I took the fucking cover off, put it in the wash. I cleaned the cushion and did all that stuff. And then I went and pet all my dogs and was grateful for them and told them I loved them and all that shit. Because I was able to take that space and I didn't get mad, everything was better throughout the day because I didn't have that negative energy. There was a time when I failed miserably. I can remember this was like, I don't know how long ago it was. It was before I started meditating, and I was kind of living really unhealthy. And I'm in a parking lot, and the parking attendant is making me wait for whatever reason. And the guy behind me didn't see that the parking attendant was making me wait, so he was thinking that I was just sitting there. And the guy starts fucking like laying on his horn and screaming at me to move and all this kind of shit. And I couldn't move because the guy is standing right in front of me. And I didn't even take that space at all. I just got super pissed and ended up getting out of my car, and I was like fucking furious and all this stuff. Luckily it didn't turn into anything other than just a couple fucking idiots yelling at each other. But it was embarrassing, you know, to like to take it to this like full fucking rage over some stupid shit in a parking lot. There was another time where this was like some years later. I still wasn't really healthy at the time. I was just sort of getting into meditation and getting into personal development and shit like that. I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or more. Another driving thing. I go to pull into a parking space, and as I'm pulling into the parking space, I see this guy. He's like fucking in a truck, and he's probably like, I don't know, over a half a block away, and he's backing up towards the parking space that I pulled into. And so when I get out of my car, the dude starts screaming at me, and he's like, didn't you see I was I was waiting for that spot. And I'm like, no, man, like you were way the fuck over there. Like if somebody's waiting for a spot, you would think they're like right near the parking spot. And this guy was like so fucking pissed at me for pulling into this parking spot. But I think it was, somehow I wasn't consciously trying to take that space and like not get triggered by this interaction. But I think it was just so ridiculous that the guy was like so far away that there's no way anybody would think that he's waiting for that particular parking spot. So somehow I didn't get mad and I was like, hey man, just go ahead and move your truck and because at this point he's blocking me in so that he could yell at me. And I'm like, go ahead and move your truck and I'll give you the spot. But he's so committed to this that he wants to just keep coming at me. And at the time I was pretty overweight. I was probably like 40 pounds overweight. And he starts calling me fat and telling me I look like an idiot and I look ridiculous and all this kind of shit. But it was like, I think it was like, he was so far overboard that like, I couldn't help but to laugh. And it was just comical. And I think that probably made him even more mad. So anyway, that was an example of somehow I managed to maintain that equanimity where this guy's coming at me and I wasn't triggered. And this is the outcome that I want to have for just about every type of scenario. So I even saw when I was on tour with my band back in the 90s, I'm not in a band anymore, but this was 90s hardcore scene. And we're in New York and, I saw these two guys having like such a heated argument. Some guys in my band wanted to have pizza and they asked this dude what the best pizza place was. And this guy was like he was really enthusiastic about his favorite pizza place. And some guy overheard him and they started arguing about what's the best pizza in New York. And one guy's like, oh, this is the best pizza in town and all this shit. And the other guy goes, nah, that pizza sucks. It's the worst pizza in town. You got to go to this place and talk to this guy. And it was like, they were just burning so much energy arguing over something that it was so funny because it was just like, man, this is pizza. Why are you guys using all this energy over something like this? So the reason I wanted to bring this up is because I hadn't really thought about this until I really started getting deep into personal development and reading about Stoicism. Like the Stoics, that's one of the things I like so much about Stoicism is they talk about maintaining that equanimity when shit's going wrong. You have the strength to be okay with whatever happens. And they talk about being okay with like literally anything, like people dying around you and all this kind of shit. Like, if you look at famous Stoics like Marcus Aurelius, he was a Roman emperor at the time. And so he's got all these people like, plotting against him and doing all this like treachery shit and all this kind of stuff. And the term is indifferent, but I don't think he was really indifferent about it. So the idea was that the Stoics were able to tune these things out in a sense that it didn't affect them emotionally. And that's just my interpretation of it. And this is this is an ancient philosophy. So I don't know if they like felt emotion about it or if they were just able to accept these kind of things. But this is what I'm trying to do, is trying to just be able to take that breath between something happening and getting triggered. And you look at how much energy gets spent on such trivial things, like just because somebody has a different opinion of you, you might get upset about it for some reason or another. I don't know. It's like we enjoy hating things, like if somebody likes a certain restaurant and you think that restaurant sucks, or if someone likes a certain kind of music and you think that music sucks, like people seem to enjoy putting this energy into things that they don't like. And the more I learn about this, the more it doesn't make sense. So the idea is that we have more control over these things than we think. It's kind of like you have to be aware that you have this control. And it's a simple concept, but it's not easy to apply because these emotions come up when you get affected by something. And that's kind of like human nature, it seems. But I just think it would be super cool to be able to go through life and not be super affected by everything. I mean, I'm getting way better at it. It's kind of like, it's just kind of like having a little more control over your response to things. I mean, there's not really much else I think I can say about it, but I will touch on a couple things. I mean, like this, it was a year ago that Cub passed away. So it's like, I'm not saying to be indifferent about that kind of shit, but it's like, it's so far out of my control that it's like, how much energy can you burn being sad about something that there's nothing you can do about it? There's literally nothing you can do. Like, I lost a dog recently. I mean, I guess it's not even recent anymore. It's like over a year, but like, I think about this dog and I think about Cub pretty much every day. And like, I had this dream last night that my dog was there. And like, I was so grateful that he showed up, and I was hugging him, and I had forgotten all about this dream. And then I'm driving home just to get some lunch. And I have a picture of all my dogs on my lock screen. So anytime I unlock my screen, they're all there. And the one that passed away is right there on the bottom. So he's like the first one that I see. And as soon as I saw that, it triggered that memory. And I remember hugging my dog again, and it was like, I started getting real sad. And it was like, how affected I don't know. It's a tough one. That one's tough. It's like, there's nothing you can do about it. So like, what are you going to do? Are you going to go into a deep depression and not get anything done? Or are you going to take those emotions and feel them and experience them and then just get back down to business? I mean, I think that's kind of what I'm trying to do. I don't even know if that's right or wrong. I mean, I feel like the way that the Stoics look at things is there's probably good and bad to it. There's good and bad to everything, but just to be able to, these things are going to happen, and what are you going to do? How much energy can you put into being super sad and all this kind of shit? Can you put in that energy into something positive? Can you put in that energy somewhere else, somewhere more productive? So why don't we just get in? I wrote down some action steps. We'll see how this thing turns out. So number one, what I was thinking is similar to a lot of these kind of things, is to do some training. So like, seek out opposing opinions and practice not getting negatively affected by it. So it's like, right now you're seeing it a lot, like with, especially like social media, like everybody's fucking got a voice. So like there's all kinds of tension, and I'm not, political and all kinds of different shit. Like we don't have to hate each other because we have different opinions. I mean, obviously if somebody's like a total piece of shit, fucking racist or whatever, yeah, fuck them, whatever. But even that, if you can't change that, if you can't do anything about that, then how much energy and are you going to waste being fucking pissed about it? I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of things in this world that bother me, but then I find myself kind of dwelling on those things, and then I don't get anything done. So like, what good is that doing? Is me not being productive helping this situation in any way, shape, or form? I mean, it's really not. So what I was thinking is you could just seek out opposing. So let's say you're right wing or you're left wing or you're middle, or you're irritated by this, or to bring it back to graph, maybe like, what if you're one of these like hardcore street bombers and you just like have this deep hatred for street art or something like that? What if you went and you spent like a half hour or something and just looked at street art and tried to find shit that you actually liked about it and just practiced not hating that shit? I don't know. It's kind of weird, but the way you develop a habit and the way you kind of like build up different, characteristics about yourself is to kind of practice that shit. So maybe that's something that you could do. The other thing that I've been doing is, I learned this recently from a guy named Marcus Anderson. He has a book called The Gift of Adversity, and he also has a podcast called Acta Non Verba. And through personal development, and if you follow any kind of like personal development people, you always hear this like practicing gratitude and how important it is. And most people practice gratitude by being grateful for all the shit that's going well for them. And that's what I was doing. I had like a list of things. I was grateful for my dogs. I was grateful for my girlfriend, for my business, for this and that, basic things that, are pretty easy to be grateful for. And on Marcus's podcast, he had said, I can't remember how he put it, but he said it was something, I hope I don't misquote it, but it was something like that was like bullshit, easy gratitude or something like that. It was he was saying you should be grateful for the shit that sucks, you know, be grateful for the adversity, be grateful for the shit that's hard, because the amount of growth that you make from overcoming that adversity is something to be grateful for. And so I've been practicing that. And actually I had this part of my morning routine where I would go outside and get in the sun and practice this gratitude. It was something kind of new to me. So I would go out and do that kind of bullshit quote, gratitude practice and being grateful for all these things that are going well. And then when I heard him say that, I was like, man, that's a really good idea. I started being grateful for everything that was hard. So it was like, you know, I get stressed out all the time and I lose sleep over stress and all this kind of stuff. It's another thing that I'm trying to work on. But what I've been doing is making sure I kind of be grateful for all those things. Whatever it is that's stressing me out, if it's like something going on with my business that's hard, that's difficult, that I'm trying to overcome, I practice being grateful for that stuff because it puts a whole new perspective on that kind of shit. You know, if you're sitting there dwelling on it being something that's upsetting and it's like you have this impending doom, like, oh my God, everything's going to fucking come crashing down around me. If you flip it and you're like, you know what, I'm grateful that I'm going through all this stuff. And then you start finding things that you're learning from it. So even if like some of the examples that I talked about earlier, like let's say you lost your shit and you were embarrassed about it, or you wish you had done things differently. Imagine if you were like, you know what, I'm grateful that happened because I learned this lesson and it was another opportunity that I missed to be able to handle a situation in a way that was more in line with my values. You know what I mean? Like, so by being grateful for those things that you don't like and finding the lessons in them, it really kind of minimizes the amount of stress that you have on there. So that's all I got. I don't know. To be honest, I was having a really hard time recording this one. Hopefully it's good. I don't know. I'll have to listen back. But anyway, since it's I don't want to call it an anniversary, but marks a year that we lost Cub, I'm going to put in some clips from him. Hopefully we can find some stuff that's related to the topic. If not, we'll just put something cool in there and, hope everybody's doing well. And thank you for the support.
It wasn't so long ago that I played into such a negative mindset and perspective, and I like to blame it again on substances and things like that I let get out of control. But ultimately, it was defects of myself. So, and the reason why I'm saying that is because what's really cool is if you can have a grasp on that mental toughness of like I have no control over the outcome. And I can control how I respond to the situation and what am I going to do? Where's the silver lining? How can I benefit? How can I have a positive perspective? If that concept for myself, I'm saying at least, is grasped, then those other defects, the insecurities and the false, misguided kind of notions of what you think something might be or could be, and all those things, they have no weight. They really hold no ground. I'm not saying that one can just like move past all those things about themselves without working on them. I'm just saying if you have had an opportunity to see that those things are fucking you up and they're just skewed perspectives, and you can ultimately shift over to that fucking something beautiful is coming from this. As long as I keep acting right, I should have been acting right. I should have held myself in a higher regard and a higher self-esteem here ultimately. And so no matter what the fuck is thrown at me, I'm ready. I stay ready so I don't have to get ready, because this shit's going to get real. Like at the time that we're in right fucking now. Like never have we seen so much need for this kind of positivity. Never have I personally needed so much positivity than the shit that I've faced. We've all faced a lot of stuff. This year has been particularly challenging. Although I see that challenge as a gift. I see that challenge as a fucking wake-up call. I see that challenge as like yeah, homeboy, this is what you've been fucking shelving. This is what you've been putting off to the side. And that's why this shit has become so fucked. Time to take a fucking look at this shit, man. So what's also interesting is, well, I mean, for me, I want to say this generally speaking that anybody could relate to this, but however, I feel one has to be ready. One has to be like willing to like kind of receive this kind of information first, right? That, yeah, man, but here's another example I just heard. And these are the kind of things that we'd be challenged with. Oh yeah, so you're saying that any kind of adversity, any kind of fucked situation, there's a silver lining to everything? Like, even if my little sister like got cancer at the age of 5 and like died at the age of 7, like, no, that's terrible. That's the most horrible shit I've ever heard. Although there might be something beautiful that comes from that. And like, this is also a thing I heard. There might be some huge foundation set up in her name. She might save another 100,000 families and give kids inspiration. Like, there's something that can come from. I'm not saying that those type of situations are okay. I mean, of course, that's terrible. But if your perspective is in a way that there's something that can build from this, there's something that can grow from this, there's a reason why I'm being faced with this challenge/opportunity. And I'm not taking my situation and comparing it to that. But again, somebody's darkest whatever for this week could be a walk in the park for someone else, and vice versa.
All right, good.
Appreciate each and every one of you guys who are supporting the cause and continue to spread the love. And yeah, stay up.